The fiasco surrounding the delivery of the National Children's Hospital continues. It's a saga that has rumbled on for 2 decades, and we've already seen the costs for the hospital balloon and almost double. Despite all of this investment, the children of Ireland still don't have their hospital. It was supposed to be open by 2014. Then it was August 2022, and now we're told that it might open in mid-2024. So 10 years after it was supposed to open, we still wait with real uncertainty even around the 2024 date. And Taoiseach, if this debacle wasn't bad enough, this morning we wake to more worrying news. It's reported that the Department of Health seems to believe that there will be additional funding required from government, and that the government is bracing itself for a sharp increase in costs that will push the final bill for the hospital beyond €2 billion. And remember that there are some 900 claims from the developers of the hospital to the tune of nearly €500 million, which have not yet been resolved. So this whole saga has been an exercise of kicking the can down the road, and God only knows where it will end up. Years after planning was granted, nearly 3 decades since the idea of the Children's Hospital was first proposed, and after €1.1 billion already spent, the government still doesn't know what the final cost will be or when the hospital will be completed. So let me be very clear on this, Taoiseach. Ireland needs its Children's Hospital. It's a vital part of our national health infrastructure, but it's not yet been delivered. And we have witnessed an ongoing saga of bungles, incompetence, and broken promises. Meanwhile, we have 100,000 children on hospital waiting lists. This includes children waiting for ENT treatment, for dermatology care, and for those children waiting in agony for scoliosis surgery. We know that the delivery of the National Children's Hospital would provide the capacity needed to get these kids off waiting lists into theatre for their life-changing operations. But still, they wait, and the costs of the Children's Hospital go up, and the delay goes on and on. If anything is emblematic of this government's inability to forward plan and deliver modern infrastructure on budget and on time, then surely the National Children's Hospital is it. And there's been rightly, Taoiseach, a lot of focus on your inability to build houses, but clearly you're not good at building hospitals either. And the question that people ask themselves is this: who sets out to build anything? No less a national hospital with no idea of how much it will cost and no idea when it will be finished. Lannan scanal ospedale náisiúnta na Lani Araig is Araig, cahan muid an costas dera a all, cahan a bheith an hospedale Creeknaha, agus cahan a bheith sé oscailta. The government and Minister for Health need to get their acts together, Taoiseach. We need clarity, we need answers. So when will you get to grips with this debacle? What, Taoiseach, will the final cost of the National Children's Hospital be? And when will it be finished and operational?
Well, dús bair an ENT leis an teachta agus sé aimimetá ag an rialtas seo ná ospedal den chéad sco a chuir ar fáil, anas go mbeidh sheriff sí den sco ar fáil de leanaí na tíre, ní bháin sa lá tá nuamhain ach sna blianta atá le teacht. I would first of all make the point that, of course, the Children's Hospital has been a project that has been ongoing for quite some considerable length of time, well in advance of the formation of this government. And I note your comment seems to be very much focused on this government. But of course, it is, in my view, in terms of the future generations of children and the children of today, one of the most important projects that has been managed by the National Paediatric Hospital Development Board and that government is clearly overseeing. And I'm in no doubt as to the benefits to be derived for the children of Ireland from building a first-class world-class hospital that we need to get the hospital done. But that said, it's a commercial contract. And yes, the board, the developer, have submitted a whole range of claims. You say 500 claims. Many of those claims early on have not been substantiated, and there's arbitration, and there's a process has been put in place. So the developer may very well submit claim, or the contractor is entitled to submit claims, but equally the NPHDB, that's the Hospital Development Board, is entitled to defend those claims that it considers inappropriate. That's in line with the provisions of the public works contracts. And it would be I think you've asked me to give an estimate of the ultimate cost. That would be a mistake. Because if you're interested in costs, you don't announce to the contractor the level which you want to go to. That is the wrong approach to take now. So the approach we have taken, and I'm very clear on this in government, we have said, let's get the hospital complete. Let's have a parallel process where if claims are made in respect of costs, they're defended by the Hospital Development Board. And in many ways, I've taken a view that I'm not going into any ballpark figures, no intention of, because to do that will only, I think, disadvantage the taxpayer and disadvantage the state. But what I am very clear about is that we do need to complete this hospital. And we do need to create a first-class facility. And we would also acknowledge the work that was done in terms of Tala and the paediatric outpatient and emergency centre that was opened as part of this project in November of 2021. And, before that, but that in November 2021, it will address up to 17,000 outpatient, 25,000 emergency attendances in Tala alone. In Conley 2021, Conley saw over 11,000 urgent care attendances and 13,000 outpatients. And within 1 year of the opening of Conley, there was a 65% reduction in general paediatrics waiting lists. Now, there are issues. Obviously, the war in Ukraine and the cost of building materials and so on will impact, as they have on all construction projects. You're correct in saying about 1.1 billion of the government's approved 1.433 billion has been drawn down to date. That's been drawn down to date, and it's a live contract. And I'm not going to prejudice enforcement of that existing contract by getting into precision about cost, hypothetical or otherwise, at this particular time. I don't think that would be advantageous to the taxpayer. But I did visit the hospital recently on the 17th of November. Substantial progress has been achieved, and I think it's quite an impressive. The design the integrity of the design as originally laid out is being followed.
Thank you.
And I think
the time is up.
It's something that we need to complete as quickly
McDonald.
as we can.
Thank you.
Well, whatever about it being disadvantageous for you to give a final figure of cost to the Dáil, let me tell you that it is wholly disadvantageous and unacceptable that the government has set out on this project with a totally open-ended contract, playing advantage at every turn to the developer, such that we have spent 1.1 billion of the taxpayers' money. We have 500 million of developer claims still outstanding. And we have a government, a Taoiseach and a Minister for Health that have no notion actually what the final bill will be. That's not accountability for taxpayers' money, and it's certainly not a way to do business. So, Taoiseach, can I ask you, is it your understanding that there will be a request for further funding for the Children's Hospital? When will that be made? Have you any notion what the quantum of that will be? And I don't accept your answer that you cannot tell people how much this piece of infrastructure will cost. But can you tell us when it will be open and when it will be operational?
Thank you very much. Taoiseach.
Now, construction started in 2016 in this hospital. This government came in last year, but I'm intrigued by your line of questioning. You seem to be suggesting through the chair, the deputy opposite seems to be suggesting that we play the contractor's game. The deputy seems to want the government to play and to look at it from the perspective of the contractor. The contractor's estimate, your estimates are the contractor's estimates of the claims. That does not mean that ultimately becomes a reality. Every one of those claims have been contested through a process, and many of them have been contested, and there's a system of arbitration. And it would be very foolhardy for me or for government, or indeed for the deputy opposite, very foolhardy and wrong to try and put a figure out there. That would not be the correct approach. And in my view, the last thing politicians should do in terms of projects, and I religiously avoid this, is to announce global figures that X project is going to cost X, Y, and Z. You're suggesting that all the claims, you're now trying to create a narrative and a reality that the claims are a new reality. When those claims are going to be contested by the National Paediatric Hospital Development Board. And the government's going to hold firm on this, and we're in a process where we're going to get this hospital complete. And we're working with all concerned in relation to that.